Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Sherlock Conversations, where we talk about Doctor Who, of course. There has been a lot going on. I will say this: in the last several months, there have been some massive life shifts, life, some life shifts going on for me and my family. So I have just not done too much. I spent a lot of my time doing the Sherlock Conversations on Facebook, and we talk about, obviously, I have not hidden the fact that I'm a big Doctor Who fan, but we also know that we're a big Sherlock Holmes fan. And in the past, my buddy Luke, Benjamin Coons, has always been kind enough to come on and whenever anything big happens, we offer our opinions about it. And so, well, something huge has happened today, and there's absolutely no getting around it. And Luke was kind enough to join me. And Luke, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me again, Don.
Well, first, before we begin, let's plug something. What are you working on?
At the moment, nothing that I can really talk about.
Okay.
Sherlockian stuff is, well, I take it back. Sherlockian stuff is mainly on hold, apart from the fact that I'm doing a little bit of content creation for Undershaw on their website. So I'm reaching out to a bunch of different Sherlock authors and people like that to see if they would be interested in contributing articles to the Undershaw website, and helping just to kind of boost awareness of the website and the school and all that stuff. That's about the only thing I can really go into detail on. The other stuff is just working on a new story that's my own thing, and part of it is being used for my university. Part of it is, I'm also completing it hopefully fairly soon, and we'll be looking to see how far that can go. Should be
Gotcha. In the meantime, you want to at least plug your older projects?
Yes, I mean my most recent one that came out was a biography on Conan Doyle that came out in September of last year, so it's almost a year old, which is mental. That's called Welcome to Undershaw. That was a really cool little biography about the house and Conan Doyle and all that great stuff. And then my previous pastiche, Scarlet Thread and Murder, has just been done as an audiobook, which will come out in a couple weeks. I've just kind of forgotten about that, but it's actually really cool. The voice actor, his name's Joff. He's really, really good, and I've been really happy with his interpretation of my book and of my characters, and he does a really good Holmes and Watson, and yeah, so I'm quite excited for that. Actually, that will hopefully be out in less than a month. I would say.
Very nice. Well, we're
But
gonna have to have you
yeah,
back on and talk about these projects.
yeah.
And like I said, we would have had you on earlier, but a whole lot of stuff has been going on here. So, uh,
All good.
yeah. So, but in the meantime, so um, there's been a lot going on in the world of Doctor Who. It's been almost as in a state of upheaval as my family and I have been, especially with the announcement that Stephen Moffat was going to leave. Maybe a little bit more than a year ago when he announced this,
Yeah.
and then and then they announced that Chris Chibnall was going to be the new showrunner, and then after that, the biggest announcement was probably that Peter Capaldi was leaving,
Yep.
and that got massively shot out of the water when it was announced the 13th Doctor. And if you're listening to this, chances are you've probably heard who it is and have commented several times about it at some point on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. But they announced that the first Doctor, or excuse me, the 13th Doctor will be female. And the 13th Doctor will be played by Jodie Whitaker. She
Yeah.
apparently, because I saw Broadchurch a
Yes.
long time ago, and I believe she was the mother of the victim. the mother of the dead
Yep.
boy. Yeah, because Olivia
Yep.
Colman was the mother of the other boy that it was
Yeah.
kind of hinted that he had something to do with the murder or something. Well, everybody was hinted at having something to do
Yeah.
with the murder in that show, but and it turned out it wasn't. Well, yeah, it turned out well. Anyway, I don't want to ruin it if you haven't seen it yet, but it. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm still going back and forth on it, and the thing for me is it all smells like this is something political.
Mm.
And there's part of me that wondered, have they jumped the shark by doing this? By this is the equivalent of, you get the mother pregnant, you bring the Oliver kid in, you move them from one house to another, where you kind of do something that kind of shakes up the status quo from preventing it from going all dull and everything.
Mm.
And if it wasn't for the fact that there is just so much political correct crap going on in this world, I'd actually be okay with them having a female doctor. But it seems to me that they're having a female doctor just to say, hey, look at how progressive we are. We're having a female doctor. And if you disagree with me on this, please, please tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me what your opinion is. This is why I'm having you on here, because I love your perspective. Give us your perspective on things, Luke. You're a brilliant guy, and you've got to live with your brilliance.
Yeah, that brilliance. I don't know. I mean, the show has been hinting really heavily ever since series 6 that a female doctor was coming. There was the episode where it's the doctor's wife actually, when the 11th Doctor says something about the chap that he has a little panic box from. Oh, he was something
Oh, the
something.
Corsair.
Yeah, and then mentioned something about him being a crazy girl or something along those lines. And he says, "Oh, she was a girl a couple of times." So they've been ever so slightly dropping these hints that female doctor's coming. And then of course, then they did it. Then we got Missy, who obviously turned out to be the Master. And it's like, okay, so we've got the Master now. And it was just a matter of time, really, before they just went ahead and said, all right, here we go, let's do a female doctor. Now, I don't know. I am on the fence about the whole thing myself. I have nothing. I think my problem is this: is I look at things like Marvel Comics and stuff, and you have things like Jane Foster is now Thor. You have X-23, who is now the Wolverine. You have all these retconned characters who are taking on the mantles of other characters who just so happen to be male. And these companies think they're doing it to be progressive and be original and stuff, and it'll expand their reader base, which just frankly isn't true. I mean, Marvel have come back and been like, we ain't really got a lot of sales on these female-led books. We thought female Wolverine would be a hit. And then you realize, shit, it's not. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing. It's like, you have these. I'm always as a creator, as a writer, I'm always of the mind of I would rather be known for creating an original character who is engaging and fun or menacing or thrilling or scary. I'd rather create something new and original rather than be responsible for retconning a pre-established character. If I were to write a Sherlock Holmes book and, I did the whole Shirley Holmes angle, or I did the Watson is a woman angle, or, whatever. It's not really original. It's not very progressive. In some ways, I feel like it's kind of insulting, because it's kind of like, on one side, it's like, oh, well, you know what? Your new character, your new female character, isn't going to be strong enough on her own. She has to have the mantle of what used to be a man's character. So I struggle with that a lot with some of these shows and some of these moves that these companies make when they pass over a masculine mantle onto a female role, and or female character. So that does really irk me.
Yeah.
But I think what so I think the next thing that really bothers me is I don't have much hope in Chibnall. I think what he's written so far for Doctor Who has been subpar. I thought Broadchurch was boring as hell, and I thought that Jodie Whitaker is a wet blanket. So I'm kind of thinking I don't like Chibnall's not shown me anything that's massive quality.
Right.
Whitaker hasn't shown me acting chops that have been outstanding or remarkable or fun or incredible. I've just been like, okay, you're there doing things. I think those two issues, coupled with the retconning of the Doctor as a woman being a bit of a political thing, is all kind of jumbled things around, and especially when I look back at Who over the past 4 or 5 years, the biggest issue with Doctor Who is its writing has been so terrible, and I'm kind of thinking, why don't you fix your storytelling first before you do this kind of massive thing? Because I mean, everything has been going downhill for Who ratings wise for the past few years, and this is a boost to get ratings back up. But I would rather boost my ratings not on a gimmick, but on the quality of storytelling first, and then lead it in. Because the problem that the show is going to have now, if you want to call it a problem, I'm not sure if that's the correct term or not, but the pickle that it's going to find itself in is, what do they do when Jodie Whitaker leaves the role? Is it a step back if they cast a man?
Yeah.
Is it questioning that decision? Will the Doctor ever be a man again? Can the Doctor ever be a man again without it looking like a patriarchal, masculine pushing down?
We messed that up with her, so let's let the boys run things again, type of thing. So yeah. And I agree with just about everything you're saying, because I'm going to flat out tell you, when I saw season 1 of Broadchurch, they stretched that out so incredibly long. Like, it was a very slow burn, and I got the feeling that Chibnall was trying to go for old-fashioned storytelling, like you would see like in a mini-series back in the 70s or 80s or something like that. And I thought he was going for something along those lines. But I haven't had a chance, or I haven't had much interest in watching seasons 2 or 3, because what I was hoping for was, I thought it was going to be one of those things where it was like you had David Tennant's character show up, he solves a crime with there was just a little extra personal baggage than what you normally have in a cop drama show, and then after that, then they've got to solve another crime or something like that. But then when I found out that they were going through a trial for the real murderer, when they were going through when they were going through the trials and other things like that, I was just like why? I didn't want to do that. And then I saw what was the American version of Broadchurch?
I can't remember. I remember that
it was something Chapel Point or something like that. And they basically said, oh, it's going to have a different ending than the other one did. And I was like, okay, I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited, and the ultimate ending was, it was not that much different from Broadchurch. It was, they did a little twist on something, but that was it. They didn't do anything overtly different with it. Like I thought, like where I'm not going to
Was the
say that.
killer still the killer?
Yeah, like I thought, like the killer who was, like for instance, I'm not going to ruin anything by saying this, but the killer in Broadchurch, like say for instance, he was the store owner,
Hmm.
and then you would find out later, like I thought when they did Chapel Point, they weren't going to make the store owner the killer. They were going to make uh, the
Yeah.
newspaper reporter the real killer or something like
Right.
that. I thought they were going to do something like that. But what they did was they made the store owner the killer in the American version, only they added another person to the whole fiasco. And
Uh,
it was
yeah.
it,
Mm.
it was just like, really? So I
Yeah.
mean, it was just I wasn't happy about that. And
No.
and again, I just keep going back to it. Just like when I look, when you like you just do a this is probably a mistake on my part. I jumped on Twitter, you do a search for 13th Doctor, and all it says is congratulations to BBC for casting a girl. Congratulations to BBC. Like you guys have done something brave and are giving us a female doctor. I just don't want to go, but is it the right doctor? Is this the right
Yeah.
person to do this? Um,
Yeah.
if you were to go female with the doctor, it should have been something along the lines of a Helena Bonham Carter, Tilda Swinton. This person's a
Mm.
little off the beaten path type of way.
Yeah.
Jodie Whitaker just seems a little bit too, if I could use this term, white bread for it.
Mm. Well, she's very mouse face. She's a very, very pretty young woman. And it's kind of like, okay, you've just gone from a 50-plus-year-old man who's much more in line with what who was like when it originated. And sure, Peter Capaldi isn't as action packed or running aroundy as much as Matt Smith and David Tennant. Um, but he brought this huge sense of gravitas to the role, this sense of ancientness and regrets and hope and and whatnot. And it's it it's what the show needed. The writing didn't cater to his brilliance as an actor, which was
Yeah.
disappointing. And I too wonder, okay, you've got you just had an older woman play the master. You've just had an older man play the doctor. It feels like you're kind of trying to hit both medias here or both demographics by saying, look, we're casting a younger person, a young pretty person. Also, hey, look, it's a young pretty girl rather than a young pretty guy. Um, it's like she is a female. She's a female Matt Smith. She's a female David Tennant. There is, it's just a nice looking person that's going to go on fun yappy adventures and stuff. And yeah, I'm just like, is that really the direction that it needed to go? Would it have been better to have had, maybe not, maybe a 45 or 47, 50-year-old woman in the role? I mean, imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know how old Michelle Gomez was, but what if you have someone like that in the role? I mean, that's hitting three unique demographics, because not only do you have the woman, the woman aspect, you have the age aspect as well,
Yeah.
in there, and I don't know. I feel in some ways I feel a little bit tight on Peter, because I'm just like, everyone was dogging on him for being old, and he was awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
he is whenever I picture River Song talking about her and the Doctor, I always pictured someone like Peter Capaldi. This older, more refined, more aged guy. And I guess there's also the idea of, I like a little bit of boundaries within my science
Yeah.
fiction as well. Um, like, I think if I don't know, I feel like Doctor Who set up itself so that regeneration was quite straightforward. Men can continue to regenerate into men, women into women. Um, And I get they've retconned that now, and that's different, and you can regenerate into anything, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um, but I suppose I always kind of had that in my mind as well, and that could just be my own stigma that I need to work through. But it is one that's kind of like, when you look at things like Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever, you just kind of have this, you have your sci-fi fantasy mentalness, but there's also these rules. The Force doesn't allow the Jedi to do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
There are limitations to the Force, and there's limitations to who can use the Force and stuff and grasp it. So I feel that's another problem is limitations. I feel like if you take things and make it limitless, then it's just kind of it I don't know, it becomes a bit hokey and a bit kind of beyond belief.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that it ends up to the point where it's sort of like, on one hand, I mean, what's crazy about this is that I've been talking with some of my female friends that are Doctor Who fans,
Yeah.
and one of my friends, she said to me her husband was cosplaying. Her and her husband went to a convention thing this weekend, and her husband was cosplaying as the 12th Doctor, and she was wearing basically a dress that said TARDIS on it and everything. When he was putting it away and everything, she kind of got a lump in her throat and actually got choked up and said, "You realize next year when we go back to this convention, I get to be the Doctor."
Yeah.
And another of my friends wrote to me. She's like, "Oh wow," she was a big fan of Broadchurch, and said, "This is so great. This is so awesome." And it's sort of like this is what it boils down to me. There is a glass ceiling that needs to be overcome, but if again,
That glass ceiling's been shattered a long time ago. I think
exactly.
that's what annoys me. Is this people are trying to piece together this glass ceiling that's already been shattered so that they can shatter it again. I mean, the comments that are coming out with this are exactly the same as Wonder Woman. And I keep thinking to myself, well, where the hell were all you people when Wonder Woman was a comic book or a cartoon character? Like, she's been around forever. Just because she's a film doesn't mean you can start liking her more now. Just
Yeah.
because she's a film doesn't make her more valid. Like, she's always been around.
Yeah, exactly. And what really makes me sad more than anything is, again, if you do go to hashtag 13th Doctor, and you
Yeah.
read down, and it's one thing to say, "Oh wow, the Doctor's now female." Oh wow, the Doctor's now female. Because yeah, that does take a moment where you go, "Oh wow, okay, the Doctor's now
Yeah.
female." But what's really sad is there is a lot of, "Oh, BBC, thank you for being brave." It just screams, we want to kiss the butts of the political correct, the progressive, and the social justice people out there. And I actually saw a post today that said if they pick another white man to be a doctor, then there's nothing good left in this world. And I gotta tell you, as a white guy, that really offended me. And
Mm.
it was just like, because like what it just seems to me is that we're now living in an age where, yes, the white male has run things for good or for ill for the last whatever it is, but now it's completely gone the other way, where it's like, oh, if you're a white man, then you're the bad, then you're what's wrong with this world. I mean, like, I can count the number of stories I see where I'll be reading a story where they'll have like actually classes where no white students are allowed to attend the classes, and
Mm.
they'll have like special days, and I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, didn't Martin Luther King like pretty much give his life to prevent things like that from happening, where it's like you're ideally going to be judged not on your gender or your skin color, but whether you can do the job or not. And that's ultimately what I keep going back to, is this: can Jodie Whitaker do the job? And my
Mm.
answer is I don't know, but history has proven time and time again regarding the Doctor. Like, I've seen the sequence over and over again recently. There's this thing where you start off with, "I love this Doctor, nobody can ever replace them," to "the Doctor's leaving, and they added the new guy. I hate the new guy. There's no way I'm ever going to like the new guy ever again. And then the person goes, all right, this person's not too bad as the new doctor. And then it becomes, this person is the best person that's ever played the doctor. No one can ever replace them. And then it's announced this person is leaving the role of the doctor type of thing. And that's why my attitude is I didn't want Capaldi to be the 12th Doctor. I thought he was too old for the role.
Oh, he was perfect. He was exactly what I wanted. He really was.
Right. No,
Oh,
but I mean, like when he first came out, but he really has grown on me an awful lot, and I really like him a
yes.
lot. And that's the thing is that I mean, for saying what you will, Jodie Whitaker at least has that in her favor. How many people have said I don't like the new Doctor,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Well, I remember when Peter came out, people were like, kids were apparently crying and distraught because it wasn't Matt Smith. It wasn't a young, pretty handsome man. And at that point, it was like, oh my gosh, how can you have an old man as the Doctor? It's like, well, have you ever bloody watched the show? Um, and I
yeah,
do know way back in the '80s, Sidney Newman proposed the idea of changing the Doctor to a woman. Um, and I suppose that if I just think I suppose if it would have been planted in Who's history a long time ago, it would have been more okay. I think it just throws up. But I guess I don't know. Whatever. I guess that there's questions that you're like, well, what about Susan, his granddaughter? How does this? You get into like these really weird thoughts of like time Gallifreyan like social life, and you're like,
yeah,
what happens if your wife regenerates to a dude? Like, does he take it in the butt now or what?
yeah,
Like it's just kind of like, what do you do? Is this whatever? I don't know. It's a bit like, okay, you gotta. This is how you have to start breaking it down, but they never kind of go into that into enough detail for you to really understand their culture. Their culture is supposed to be this kind of supreme warlike overseer type thing, and the Doctor's kind of like, I want nothing to do with you. I'm gonna go off and have adventures. But there is this kind of idea of sense. There is a sense of family and relationship and love and marriage and stuff. But
yeah,
how how can you have how can if one Time Lord is the female version, one is the male, then they're both male or both female. How do they can they still how can they have kids? Because
yeah,
you know what I mean. So there's all these really weird socio-political gender questions that just start in my mind because again I like a little bit of reality within my sci-fi. I like some sort of you need to when you build your science fiction world, it needs to be solid. If it this is I think to me this is an example of where it can start to those pillars become a little bit unstable now, because you're kind of like, anything goes. Who cares? The
yeah.
Doctor, he's an alien. Who cares? It's an alien. I'm like, but like,
Well, but what you end up with is that you end up with 19. I'm going to say you're going to end up with these 1970s style, or better yet, a Super Friend Superman. Where if you go
mm,
back and you watch like the old late 1970s, early 1980s Super Friends, okay, they did a whole episode where the Earth was about to be sucked into a black hole, and Superman pushed it out of the way. It was just kind
mm,
of like he caught it and then he pushed it. If Superman can push the planet out of the way, then like if he can like physically push the planet out of the way without breaking a sweat, then I gotta be honest with you, uh, him taking on an average mugger or something like that is not that exciting anymore.
no,
And it's sort of like and that was one of the things that that the Paul Dini um, Superman, their version of Superman was they actually had him wearing a spacesuit so that he can breathe in outer space and survive that. It
yes,
wasn't it wasn't because like the thing is that once you then kind of uncork the genie, I mean like there's no getting him back into the bottle. And the thing is
yeah,
that it was sort of like the other thing that nobody is talking about is, do you remember when I got back when I emailed you on Friday when they made the announcement and they said this was going to be at the men's Wimbledon, I went, oh no, that's
Mhm.
what they're doing. It was just like they're being ironic
Yeah.
and being funny. And I kind of thought, all right, they're going to announce it's a female doctor type of thing. And then
Yeah.
and then they did that. It was like men's, female type of thing. And then they released a video for it. If they were so impressed that they did, look at how great they are, why didn't they introduce her into a live show the way that they did Peter Capaldi?
I was wondering about that as well. I was thinking they did such a huge. I don't remember what they did for Matt Smith.
No,
So
no,
I
it
don't.
was just a photograph. It was just a photograph of him standing in front of the TARDIS.
Yeah. So I feel like obviously with Matt Smith, it was who hadn't reached that level of American uh, appreciation yet. So I kind of get why that might have been. Why that was a bit more quiet
Yeah,
and normal in terms of a release. Obviously, by the time Peter came out, Matt Smith, it was. I think that was all just kind of exposure because the 50th was coming up, and they just wanted Doctor Who to always feel like it was this huge, giant behemoth thing. And then, yeah, I kind of feel like this is a little bit underwhelming when you consider there was such a huge hoopla when Peter took over the role. This is kind of a very this is a, just a step. This is a step above a picture, but several steps below the huge event that came out. And this would have probably done well to have had an event for Chris and for Jodie to have been given the opportunity to speak. But I think the reason they didn't is probably because they knew audience reaction would be very mixed, and they probably didn't want any live Q&A
yeah,
with this kind of stuff because they know that they're trying to be progressive, but at the same time it's gonna PO a lot of people. And even as I was thinking about the show today, I sent out a tweet earlier that said, since since Doctor Who wasn't bold enough to let Missy use the title of the Master, will the new Doctor be Nurse Who?
oh,
Um,
interesting.
because you have everyone's talking about this progression. I'm like, well, Missy, that's not a that's just a title. That's not even a powerful female title. That's just why couldn't Missy still be the Master? Why did Missy change her name from the Master down to Missy? Hey Missy, it sounds like a stupid 13-year-old, 3-year-old girl or something like that,
Well,
or it
the
sounds.
obvious that if it went from master, it now becomes mistress, and mistress is just awkward. I am the
No, no.
mistress.
Why does it have to be mistress? The master is the master regardless of of gender. So why is it mistress? Why is it Missy?
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, you had a female in a huge popular villain role, and yet you wouldn't even let her be the master. She's Missy.
yeah,
And so it's kind of like, people talk about all this, oh yeah, progression, da, 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 and yet everyone loved Missy, and I'm like, you're missing this huge thing here, guys. There's this every time she's on, there's this huge thing flashed in your face that, come on, like,
she's a girl.
especially in the
She can't
John,
be the master.
yeah, in the John Sims episodes where when he comes back, I mean, it's just like, I don't know, I hated the kind of self-awareness of the situation, and I just really what I don't want is Chibnall to be self-aware that the Doctor is a woman. I don't want her to grab her breasts and be like, "Cool, what are these?"
Yeah,
Or look at her hair and be like, "Ooh," or whatever. Or, "Oh, I smell so much better now. I'm a woman." I don't want that kind of self-awareness, or I don't want a Doctor who's going to be like, this does not match my complexion. I don't,
yeah,
and I worry that they're going to fall into those stereotypes having a female Doctor. But
yeah. Now I will say this though. 10 minutes, 10 minutes into season 11, I think we can allow for that. You know what I mean? Like the first 10 minutes of season 11 going, holy cow, what's happened to me? I used to be an old doddering guy. In fact, I was just hanging out with them not too long ago. Now look at me. I'm hot. Okay, that's weird. All right. So like I can allow for that, but if it like they spend the rest of the season in that way, and this is, oh man, I hate to say this. I really do because you know me. You know, you get people know me. I really don't want this to be the end of Who for me. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I don't want this to be. I mean, like one of the upsides is we still have the big finish and the books and everything, and in some weird ways, all of our characters, all of our doctors, the ones that we love the most, continue traveling around in the TARDIS, saving people and running down immense amounts of halls and stuff like that. There's always going to be that. But the thing is that it's just, I just hope it doesn't become political. Because I got to say this. I mean, one of the reasons why, and I guess I'm going to go ahead and go there with this. One of the big reasons why Trump got elected, well, you know what I'm going to say, because they did talk about Trump in the last two episodes of Doctor Who. The reason why Trump got elected was because of crap like this, where you're told, "Hey, look, I'm sorry, this is not like it was." I saw a lot of people say, if you don't like the fact that the doctor is going to be a woman, or if you don't want the doctor to be a woman, then you're a misogynist, you're a sexist. And
Mm.
it's that type of thing that just irritated people, me included, because that wasn't the case. And that's why one of the reasons why, for good or for ill, he got elected. And so
Right.
and so it's this type of thing. And I kind of actually figured that when they mentioned something about Trump, I just saw these little subtle clues here and there that made me think, I bet you they go with a woman doctor, or they go with a female doctor
Yeah.
as kind of like a means
Yeah.
of, I don't want to say compensation, where it's sort of like, haha, well, the woman didn't win the presidential election, so therefore we're going to have a woman win this instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if that's the case, then they're doing a massive disservice to their client, to their fan base. Now, if Chibnall actually said, Chibnall, I read an interview, said that he had every intention of doing a female doctor right from the get-go. I don't.
Is that
Yeah.
why he said earlier that it would be a gimmick?
He said that to kind of throw fans off. I think he was just kind of to show, hey, look, no. But he actually, I was reading an interview with him where he flat out said, I wanted to go with a female, so that's why, and we chose Jodie Whitaker for that, and so she was our top choice. And
Top choice, whatever. She's your friend from Broadchurch, mate.
Yeah,
Your friend
exactly.
from Broadchurch. Whatever. Top choice. She's boring.
Yeah.
She has a lot to live up to. She will have to impress me. I mean, the thing is, as much as I love Peter Capaldi, his seasons have been terrible.
Mhm.
He's been the only thing enjoyable about those things, and I didn't even keep up very well with season 10, and I have no desire to, because of how bad season 10 is, and whatnot, to even, I don't know, to even care that much about season 11. You know, I don't care about the Christmas special, even though it's going to have the first Doctor in it. I should be really excited about that, but I'm
Yeah.
not, because I don't give a care, because, you know, Moffat is pandering to himself, and it just, I don't know, it just never really, it hasn't really, it's just kind of plateaued and for a bit, and then just began to steadily nosedive, or not steadily nosedive, but steadily decline
Yeah.
now, and to this weird point that we have it now.
Yeah, exactly. Because because you know what bugs me about this is that Chibnall, I think, the idea of him going, all right, like this really is the equivalent of like, hi, I'm the new guy. Remember everything you learned from the old guy? Yeah. Well, you know what? Forget it. We're not doing it that way. We're doing it
Yeah.
my way. And what can I do to kind of shake up things? I know. I'm going to give you guys a girl doctor.
Yeah.
And
Well, I feel like that's what Moffat's thing was. I mean, Moffat, how much stuff did Moffat do that would have some sort of impact on Doctor Who on Doctor Who's history. Like, Russell T Davies did one thing. He did the Time War.
Right.
That was it. With Moffat, every single season had to be something that would attach on to the history of Doctor Who rather than just be good story.
He gave the Doctor a wife. He also gave us the War Doctor. He brought back Gallifrey, and
he solved the regeneration problem.
Yeah, which, to be honest with you, that should have been a season. You know what I mean? That shouldn't have been a quick open up a window in space and let Matt Smith breathe it in.
Yep. Yeah, that was sloppy. That was very sloppy because it kind of didn't really solve the problem of where is Gallifrey and how do they do that. Like the biggest thing, the biggest problem, well, one of the biggest problems is that even though, Moffat has brought back Gallifrey, we don't really know how it's been brought back or where it is or how it's there or how he found it or what they're doing. How are they able to leave? Can they leave? Like there's this, it's very ambiguous and weird and unclear and uncertain, and terribly, terribly frustrating.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But
so I don't know. I am not thrilled. I'm not angry. I don't really care so much about a woman being in the role more so than I'm not impressed with Chibnall. I'm not impressed with Jodie. I am not impressed with Moffat. I don't see this going in any direction that I want to see. Like, are they going to have a male companion now? Will the male companion be all googly-eyed over the Doctor? Or will that be considered sexist? But it's been fine before when it's the female, there's all these things. What's going to happen? Will it be a female companion? Will they try and push will they push for the kind of I don't know, same sex kind of thing? Or
are they gonna would they well, they kind of implied that the Doctor pretty much had a physical relationship with River Song and maybe one or two other people there. In fact, even the implication was that Corsair person that was mentioned earlier. Is there going to be something like that going on?
Yeah.
Are they going to, I'll put it to you this way, if they really go out of their way to kind of push the status quo, they're going to end up losing people the same way Marvel Comics did. I mean, what it boils down to is that you can have the same old thing that you have, but you just have to know how to write it better. And because now, who's it? Like, what's it going to be? I mean, I saw somebody post something about how can we have a man start playing Miss Marple now?
Yes. Yeah. Which I've made jokes about that before, and I think that's kind of my point of just create original new characters, guys. Everyone fucking loved Romana. Everyone loved Leela. They were very strong, independent female characters who've left a huge impression on Doctor Who, and were not women who needed the Doctor to save them.
Yeah.
They all brought unique skills, including even Ace in the 80s. There was all these companions that I think the stigma of companion or assistant has hurt what is essentially another star of the show.
Yeah.
You're not second to the Doctor. You're equal to the Doctor. You just have it's like Holmes and Watson.
Yeah.
No one thinks less of Watson because he isn't as smart as Sherlock.
Unless it was Nigel Bruce.
Well, there's that. But widely speaking, everyone kind of has that kind of. No one thinks about that kind of stuff. No one. No one looks at Poirot and what's his face.
Poirot, yeah.
His secondary guy.
Is that Buck or Buick or no Bank or no?
I can't remember his name now. It does, but it's completely escaped my mind. But anyway, him. People don't. I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's just a little bit. It's disappointing.
Yeah.
I don't like what they've done with the show in general, and I think it is a bit of kind of pandering, really. I think people have been crying for it, so they're just doing it to appease and keep fans and hope and see if they can bring in new audiences. But one of my friends said that they were they're only disappointed because they feel like this new Doctor is a woman just because people asked for it, not because the Time Lords kind of don't care about gender in their regenerations. And I think that's kind of spot on, really.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess that's kind of like, you know what? I guess that's kind of how you end this on there, where it's like basically what it boils down to is that we
Time will
hope,
tell.
yeah, we hope this isn't political. And again, Jodie Whitaker does fall in that whole case of she does fall into that whole case of um, I love the new Doctor, no one can replace him. I hate this new guy.
Yes.
I hate this new guy. Yeah, I'm gonna say guy. I hate this new guy. I wish the old guy would come back. All right, I'm starting to kind of like the new guy. You know what? I'm really liking the new guy. Okay, you know what? I like this new guy. No one can replace him. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I guess we're at with this is that I hope I really hope that's something that, like, again, I really, really hope this isn't political. I hope this is a straightforward. Um, I hope this is a straightforward, like, okay, we've got ideas for adventures. We got ideas of how we're going to do this. Because to be honest with you, this is what I've said. The biggest problem for me with the show has been in the last several years has been it's quit being about storytelling, but it's been all the outside crap that happens with the show. It's
Yeah.
been all about the it's been all about uh who's going to be in the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
Now, oh no, Matt Smith is gone. Who's taking over for Matt Smith? Oh no, now
Well,
Stephen Moffat is gone. Who's going to take over
yeah.
for Stephen Moffat? Oh no, now Peter Capaldi's gone. Who's taking over for Capaldi? And now it's a girl. Yay! This has needed to happen for a long time because clearly the showrunners of Doctor Who have been holding back the woman's movement for the last 54 years. It's that type of stuff. I'm like, really? And I go, can we just make it about the character running around and saving the day and doing it in a way that's not going to bore you?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
sort of where I'm at with this. So anyway,
Definitely.
Luke, once again, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. It has just been my
Yeah, no
absolute
problem.
pleasure. We do this all the time, and we're going to have to do this again very soon to have you talk about
Cool.
the audio version of your book and your other your Arthur Conan Doyle book.
Yeah,
So
sure.
anyway,
Anytime.
because there's a lot of things that I would love to chat with you about, especially about the life of Doyle and everything. So
Yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
Luke, thank you so
Cool,
much for
man.
joining us. And if fans want to get in touch with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Probably Twitter at the Luke Coons.
Cool. All right, and we will have links for all of that. Luke, thank you again for joining us, and everybody, thank you so much for listening.